organizers managed to get us some fine speakers for what the plans are for the last event today. Speakers from various fields of knowledge who will be able to share their ideas, solutions and challenges ahead of us, and tell us a bit about what you do in your professional life, because really some interesting stuff that you do, and I'm really looking forward to hear more about it. Listen to them carefully, and you will also be able to ask questions in the second part of our roundtable. Hopefully we will be able to provide some answers. And we will start with a short round of introduction, and then later each and every one of you will have some 5-7 minutes for a short presentation that you prepared. So here with us is Dr. Bianca Elzenbaumer. Did I pronounce it right? She is the founder of Brave New Alps. We'll talk about it more later. And also Igor Caldeira. Yes, this is the member of the Portugal, someone from Portugal to our roundtable. Igor is Secretary General of European Liberal Youth. And then Matija Raos. Matija, right? Not Matija. Matija, it would be in Slovenian. So Matija Raos is the president of Croatian Independent Professionals Association. And you're doing some amazing job. I checked your webpage. You have like more than 2,000 members. Congrats. Good job. And also Marko Funkel. Marko is the founder of Movement for Decent Work and Welfare Society. So thank you all for being with us. I guess it's time for Bianca. You are first. So tell us, yes, please, a bit about Brave New Alps. Your webpage says that Brave New Alps produce design projects that engage people in rethinking social, political, and environmental issues. So go ahead.
Okay, yep. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. In Ljubljana is my first time and I find it amazing, but then I'm also feeling quite a lot of pressure to speak to this big question, which is so full of hope and anxiety for everyone, me included. So it's quite a big thing to do, and I would just say I can only bring a very partial perspective onto this question, which is really coming from me working as a designer and as a design researcher with a keen interest in how we can foster progressive social change. And so for me, one of the big questions to ask as professionals is what is it that we see today as tendencies, and what of what we see do we want to take into the future with our professional work, and what is it that we want to undo or that we want to redirect. And of course, as we've seen, it's full of contradictions, but it's something we can ask quite a lot in our profession as cultural workers. Just to say something shortly about the images that you will be seeing, they are about workshops that I'm running together with 2 other designers in different places in Europe, and they are asking this question of what tendency in our profession do we want to take into the future. And we are running one of these workshops here tomorrow as well. So you will see some images of workshops in different places in Europe. And to address this big question of what we can do with our profession to think about the future of work, for me, I think there are really 2 general points that needs to be addressed. One, which I see as really important and maybe in contradiction with the first speaker, is to break this kind of rat race and the individualization that we are experiencing, so that we all constantly need to be in competition with each other. I think it's really something that we need to be able to break up, because it's actually wearing us out quite a lot. And something that goes with that is a need, I think, to reconfigure our ambitions, because at the moment it almost feels like we are trapped in something that we could call a cruel optimism, of a kind of thinking that this fantastic future, that this career will be happening as it looks in design magazines, whereas maybe as the crisis is showing us and austerity politics, it's not in that way that we imagine it, it might not be possible anymore. So as designers, we could actually also start to create new imaginaries to position other role models. And 3 areas where I would see that we can really intervene as designers, as cultural workers, both working as professionals, but also still being students or teaching or running cultural institutions, is to think of how we can use our creativity and our time, our skills, our resources to create new economic cultures, and economic cultures that are supportive, that are, as I said before, not based on being constantly in competition, but thinking of how we can activate what we have to actually create connections between us that enable us to live better, to have some kind of security, and to not constantly be anxious about when the next job is going to come along and if we will be able to have a pension. And I think we really have a role in this, even though as designers we might often downplay the role we have in society, but we actually have really powerful tools to create imaginaries and to create worlds, to make people desire something. And if we can activate them to create something that we think might be more desirable, it's something very valuable to do. And here I'm just thinking of very practical examples as well that are happening in different places around Europe. In the UK, for instance, there is a whole movement for workers' co-ops, young people setting up co-ops and supporting each other. People setting up co-working spaces like this one, where you can also bring in the political issues of work, where it's not just about your happy phase and how well you're going to succeed on the market, but where also structural issues can be questioned, and where some kind of new form of organization can be found, because unions don't really work for the kind of workers we are. But still, we want to have better conditions, so there are ways of organizing. But then also very simple things of collectives of freelancers simply pooling together and sharing all the money they earn, because maybe they all went to the same school and think, well, we all have a good education, so just because you're able to attract more jobs, can we share that? Can we somehow share the risks we take, but also the money that we earn? And this actually brings me to a second area where I think we can really intervene, which is this shift in role models. What do we aspire to be as professionals? Because at the moment it really feels to me that although we know that things are kind of getting stuck and we are in a dilemma, we still feel that if we spend 24/7 behind our computer screens, that will kind of solve our issue. And to think beyond that, because maybe we can organize housing differently, like Eva said before, thinking beyond the bubble of work, because actually most of us work to be able to pay our rent and to pay food and transport. And I suppose not much else, at least in most cases where the income is really low, to just pay for the basics. So it's also thinking, what are these other models out there already that are inspiring, that are innovative, inventive, and actually pretty cool as well. So not something that looks to the past, but that looks to the future. And a third point that I feel quite strongly about, and which is possibly going away from our own precariousness, is also thinking of, if as designers, as cultural workers, we want to be less precarious, how can we do this in ways that also makes our profession less elitist? Because at the moment, I'm really struggling with the fact that every time I'm going into design schools to run workshops or organize something, it's always white people coming to the workshops, simply because the profession doesn't have space for people from migrant backgrounds with less privileges to actually even imagine that they could become designers and create new imaginaries. Because it's quite known that it will be a rather precarious profession. So I think it's also important to think about that. How can our profession open up and really include people from a much more diverse background? Because that's possibly also one of the places where really kind of transformative ideas can come from. Ooh, sorry. And to come to the end of my little input, I think like each of us, of course, will have different desires and needs, and these were just mine that I feel really strongly about. But it's important to remember that whatever we do, things can be done differently, and that we can challenge different systems, ways of working that have become ingrained. And if we join up to do that, it's easier and it's also more fun. And in a way, I think it's about enacting what we want in the future today. So thinking about the prefigurative politics, which I think Polygon, in a way, is doing. What could this future be? Let's enact it today so we can actually be in a much better position to think of all the other diversity, multiplicity of things that we can actually be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. Okay, is it me or the big one? The Brave might also be the hashtag for the event. Do we have the hashtag for the event? We do? What is it? So I can tell the others if they're tweeting. ELF event, okay, thank you. If you're tweeting about the event. Bianca, one question. Can you take... you are coming from the designing field, right?
Yep.
This is the industry that you work in.
Yes, that's the industry I know, and that's where I feel comfortable to speak.
Okay. Would you say that designers today are paid as they deserve, as they should be?
No, I don't think so. I think that
No kidding.
No, I'm definitely not. But I think there is a whole problem that within design schools, we are not taught how to ask for money. We're taught how to create great ideas, fantastic concepts, but when it comes to pricing, no idea. Is it £5? Is it 5,000 euro? Is it no idea? So I think there is an issue there. And then, of course, in big agencies, the agencies make the money, but not the people who work in the agencies. So yeah, there is a real issue of just teaching designers the basic of the trade, because people have established rules, how to do an invoice, how to make sure you get the money, how to do an estimate, and how to calculate how much you need to be paid. But at the moment, the skill is not really taught.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hear this very often from designers that I talk to, and just a while ago, when you were talking about this out-of-the-box thinking and constantly being bombarded with looking for innovative solutions and stuff like such, a friend got a request that was, can you give us something that's innovative, clear, effective, and of course do it in a day for free? I mean, that's, I guess, for the audience, nothing new. I mean, you probably experienced something like that too, right?
Yeah, and I think there, what we need to consider that maybe someone can even come up with a thing in one day, but that's because...
For 100 euros.
For 100, no, not for 100 euros, hopefully then. But then if someone comes up with a brilliant idea in one day, which might potentially happen, it's because people study, they go to exhibitions, they are informed, you constantly work. You go on holidays, you learn about a new culture, it all becomes part of your knowledge that you can tap into. So even if the idea is produced in one day.
Yeah, it's like the background of the years and years of hard work. Thanks for now. Should we just go? Okay, Igor, maybe you're next. As I said before, Igor is Secretary General of the European Liberal Youth, and the floor is yours.
Hi. First of all, let me thank the European Liberal Forum and Institute Novum for inviting LIMEC. LIMEC is a member of ELF, so we are in constant cooperation, and it's of course a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in Ljubljana, a city that I already know since at least 2010, the first time I was here in the Youth Congress of LIMEC precisely, and it's always a pleasure to return. So first of all, let me introduce very briefly what is LIMEC. LIMEC is the European Liberal Youth. This means we are the youth wing of the ALDE party, which is one of the main main European parties in the European Parliament, and it's the Liberal Party. LIMEC is an umbrella organization gathering 48 members across Europe, across 30 plus European countries, and we also have 150 individual members. Since our foundation in 1976, we have always fought for a more democratic, more open, enlarged Europe with free movement of people, of goods, of services, and of capitals. Now, the topic of this session is what about the future? And well, to talk about the future, I'll start with the past. And the past, millennials like me were taught that, well, to land a good job, you basically have to study hard, go to university, and then you're set for life. That's what my parents told me. So I ended high school, I had no skills, so I went to take a degree. And I took a degree, I was an excellent student, and I finished my bachelor's without a job. And I continued having bad jobs and precarious jobs. I think I fulfill all the characteristics that the previous speaker presented in terms of flexible, part-time, not open-ended, fixed term, etc., etc. And then I got tired of my country, Portugal, and I went to Belgium. Now, in the present, what we have is that despite this tale that we were taught does not fit the reality, the thing is that nowadays we have unemployment rates of about 40% in many parts of Europe. If you think that having 25% is bad in Slovenia, well, think about Greece or Spain or Italy, where the unemployment rate is over 50%. I think that if we want to face this and solve this issue, we have to change our mindset regarding which are the solutions for our economy. First of all, I think there is the demographic problem. I think that this was already mentioned here. We have a declining working population, we have a growing retired population, and that means that we have to work longer, and if we want to have any kind of retirement, any kind of income at the end of our lives. One other thing that we have to accept is that university degrees is not equal to jobs, period. One thing is the academic field, and the other thing is the technical field of the job market. In the job market, having a degree like I do in political science doesn't mean anything if I don't have any proper skills, any skills that are applicable in the labor market. A third issue is, and this intimately connected to this, is that we need to change our schooling system until the university, because not everyone will go to the university, but all of us will have to pass by normal school, high school. And in our point of view, everyone, when finishing high school, they should be already empowered with specific skills and capacities to learn, acquire new skills that allow them, regardless of wanting or not to pursue university studies, that allow them to access a job in the labor market. And another thing that I take very deeply, because I felt that in my dark years in Portugal, was we have to throw away all the prejudices that we have regarding jobs. Why would it be strange that a plumber or an electrician would earn a higher salary than me, someone with a degree in political science? If that's what's needed, if people need plumbers and not political scientists, then what's the problem of that? I personally even tried. I asked my job center if I could get training in any kind of a manual job. They said, of course not. You have a degree. Why would you want to do that? Are you crazy? Well, this has to change, because if you're not going to change this, if we continue having this class-oriented perspective that some people are better than others just because they have degrees, we are never going to solve the problem of unemployment. So, and now I go towards the end of my speech. having jobs, protecting jobs is not the same thing as protecting work. And I think we should move away from the mentality of protecting jobs, specific jobs, to the mentality of protecting people. We have to accept that we're not going to have the same job throughout, since our youth until our retirement, that we're going to change, and that should not be a problem. The problem is if we don't have the opportunities, for example, to retrain ourselves in cheap and accessible ways related to real needs in the concrete social context in which we are. So my point is we should protect people and not categories, protect workers and not jobs. And I would just like to end that despite being here representing a youth organization, I have to say that I deeply dislike some programs that politicians sometimes come up with, like the youth guarantee, as if every specific populational or demographic category could be sliced and have their own little kind of program that is going to solve all their problems. Well, that's a lie. Most of the solutions that will get us going and solve the problems such as unemployment are solutions that will benefit everyone. You won't create a one-stop shop to facilitate the creation of SMEs just for youth people, for young people. You should create them for all. Taxation, having a simple taxation that allows a small entrepreneur to create their own job or to employ someone, it's not going to affect only young people or older people, it's going to affect everyone. So I think that, and I really stop here, sorry if I took too much time, I think we have to move away from what I would call some kind of racist in terms of job policies, the racist approach in job policies, in the sense that we split people into categories, whereas most of the solutions are actually common solutions to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Igor. You mentioned your dark years in Portugal. What did you mean by that?
Well, I mean having the shock of realizing that degree is not equal to job. And I realized that also because, and there is something that, yesterday I was also talking about a similar topic, entrepreneurship, in the European Youth, Parliament, talking to a group of young Bulgarians. And one of the things that we were taught is that, well, you'll get a job, and you will get a degree, and you'll get a job. Well, that was true, and my parents, when they told me this, they were not lying to me, they just didn't know it. And they didn't know it because they came from a different generation, where only rich people, or high income or high class people would enter university degrees, when, or would get into the university. When people like me, coming from middle or low middle class, finally access the university, then we actually have the problem that we have now, which is still opportunities are not given just by mere diplomas. You need a bit more than that, and we need, as I said before, skills.
These youth forums and these youth parts of political parties seem to me very important part of the whole system. They generate this sort of new ideas, different kind of thinking. Yet I always ask myself, how seriously do they take you? How loud are you at expressing what you want?
That's something that I confront myself every day with, because I work in it 40 hours a week or more. Well, I think it depends really on the kind of policy makers that you have on the other side of the table. For example, yesterday when I was talking in the European Parliament, I was invited by a young MEP that actually asked us to help him drafting some amendments in the European Parliament. So with him, I actually know he takes seriously our job. He wants us to contribute. He wants us to be part of the change. So I would say that it really depends from country to country. It depends on the strength of youth organizations, on the political culture. For example, if I compare the political culture in my own country, where until the age of 25 you don't really exist politically, to the country, to the political culture of countries like, I don't know, Denmark, where I often have in my congresses 18 years old, and they are so proficient in public speaking. I see that they have real engagement in policy decisions in their own parties, in their own organizations. So I think it really depends on the context. I'm sorry, it's not a very clear answer, but it basically depends on the specific context of every country. And in the case of the European Union, there is also an institution called the European Youth Forum, of which all the political, or most of the political party youths are also part. And in that sense, we also engage in debates between ourselves, and through the Youth Forum, we also transmit it to the European Commission and the European Parliament.
The reason I asked you this is that the things have changed so much in the last couple of decades that I don't see that this, especially maybe some generations of politicians, are not coming from the same world. It's like, you know, digital immigrants versus digital natives. Sometimes you speak and they don't hear, they don't understand. I mean, way too often, I would say.
Yes, well, we have a problem in Europe, which is, again, a demographic problem. So we have less and less young people. That means less and less voters. That means less and less politicians. And that's why we are, for example, throughout Europe, turning into populist and either far left or far right parties that are against change, against globalization, that reject any kind of different policy approaches.
It's a hard work, right?
It's a very hard world.
Okay, and still not there yet. Okay, thank you, Igor, for now. And now, Mati Arauz, let's see how the revolution, the co-working revolution works in Croatia.
So, my name is Mati Arauz. I come from Croatia, Independent Professional Association. I came here to share my story, how we started the freelancer movement in Croatia, because we are deeply connected to Slovenia co-working also, because we started at the same time but took kind of different direction, I would say. So when I speak on behalf of a team of 13 volunteers who started the organization in a way. And here you can see, okay, I'm also co-working Croatia community catalyst, which means I usually do all the talking with different parties and trying to find the best way to connect us all together and create something important or relative or solve some solutions. At first, I will tell you a bit about our organization. So our motto is independent yet united, because all the freelancers kind of stand from themselves, but also it's really important to find things that they are passionate about and find the things they want to solve together. So we are a young national non-profit organization which aims to create, promote and sustain healthy ecosystem for all the independent and self-employed professionals working in Croatia. We serve as a unified voice promoting and empowering independence and demanding better laws, legislation and social protection. And with our programs, we want to offer our members business support, education, professional development, networking and job opportunities, but also affordable and social office infrastructure in the form of co-working spaces. So this is all like formal, it sounds good, but the idea is that through our co-working sessions, we connected to all these different types of freelancers, and we really wanted to find out what are the problems beside the office infrastructure and creating community, because really early on we discovered that with co-working we will not solve these problems because our region and our country don't particularly have organization or didn't think about how can we support this new flexible workforce. And what we promote is independent professionals, an important resource in more flexible and dynamic market and entrepreneurial ecosystem, because I think that freelancers really have to collaborate with the agencies, with different type of entrepreneurs, so we have to be ready to connect to this wider picture and to contribute to new economy, let's say. We support professionals who act as independents out of the personal choice, including those who partly or temporarily act as freelancers. Also, there are situations that people didn't decide to be freelancers, and we want to support them also. I think it's really important to mention that we strongly condemn every act of disguised employment and attempt to unfairly reduce legal and social rights of the workers, because this is something that is really happening a lot in our country. So we have the situation when somebody is a freelancer, but basically the company just sacked him off and put him in this situation where he doesn't want to be, and especially, let's say, older people who really don't know how to behave in this situation, and this is creating really big problems. As I said, all our actions are driven from the values of the co-working movement and collaborative economy. I think this makes us really different than typical, let's say, organization. So all the programs we prepare are based on accessibility and openness, which leads to collaboration and then community and in the end sustainability. So whatever we do, we really try to see it in this way, and this is not just a nice word, it's something that we strongly believe in and really promote it in whatever we do. So how we started? As I said, through co-working sessions, we did 30 of them in the last, let's say, 3 years in Zagreb, and later on we did it in different cities. But we will not watch the video because we don't have enough time. I will put a presentation on later so you can watch it yourself. Our first connection with the, let's say, European freelancers movement was when it started, like the online campaign. So we decided to join in as a Co-working Croatia platform. And we had really good, let's say, success, because we were the second country in the European Union or in Europe with collected signatures, because we really put a lot of effort to explain to our co-working community, which is mostly made of freelancers, that this is something we should really strongly support. Later on, we created a website because we wanted to turn our informal members into formal members, which is really important when you talk to institutions and to media and things like that. But what we had to do is make the story personal. So we did all the campaigning through the social media. And what we did first was to try address all this prejudice that freelancers kind of get used to in their real life. So we communicated through pictures, and this worked really well, because when somebody is angry about something, he really wants to share it, he's passionate about it, so it was really viral. And as we used social media because it's not expensive, we got really great, let's say, results. And a lot of people joined in on our organization, and then we asked them to share their stories and say why this type of organization is important for them. Not only designers, but architects, and not only from Zagreb, but also for other cities. Because for us it was really important for our media, our general public, to understand that the freelancers are not only artists and designers, but there are a lot of people who act this way. So you can see there's a different type of professionals. Also, we had some, let's say, celebrities from Croatia who joined in and supported our efforts. And also we included some names from the European scene of freelancing to support it, because we wanted to show that we are really thinking big, not just locally, because we understand that we are a part of this changing Europe thing, not only like do it locally, but also understand the more European context. Also, we asked the support from our co-working friends from Europe, so they also said how they see us and why this is important. Of course, when we gathered all these images, all these stories, we wanted to share them with media, because that works really well. So we had a lot of media coverage on public TV, and press, and online. And that took us to the level where we were more than 1,000 members strong, which made us more relevant in a, let's say, political sense or whatever. And then what we had to do is make some things really tangible, because when we talk to media, everybody asked us, like, okay, how many freelancers there are in Croatia? What type of professions? How much do they earn? So we realized we have to use 1,000 members base to find out these answers. So we did the first national freelance research in which 1,300 participants participated, and there were two types of outputs we wanted to have. First was like who are the freelancers in Croatia, and then we got all these great demographics. So, for instance, 50% are 25 to 34 years old, 68% are from Zagreb. Let's say 73% have higher education, which is really important because you can see that mostly freelancers are really greatly educated. Also, we split it in freelancers who do contract-based work and company-based work or self-employed professionals. So we used this data to, again, communicate in a much better way with media and with influencers, let's say. What we found out is that the most independents work in the field of creative industries, which is also important because now all of these hot topics about Creative Europe and fundings and things like that. So we wanted to make, again, a connection with organizations that also exist in a wider market. We also questioned them how they feel about certain policies, how they feel as persons, like did they choose to be a freelancer or not, and things like that. The other thing that we did, because we come from, let's say, participatory background and bottom-up initiatives, we didn't want to force anything on them, so we asked them, like, what are the priorities you want us to do. So, for instance, we wanted them to tell us which programs should we start first. So what we found out that the most problems come because we don't have quality freelance business counseling and legal team, because it's related to, let's say, young freelancers who don't know how to draft a contract or all these things that Bianca was telling about, and also a legal team that would have a power to negotiate with the company how to get paid, because in reality that's the biggest problem. Also, they choose advocacy and visibility, both on national and EU level. And the third thing was informative and service portal. Our portal, which could serve as a connection point between, let's say, employers and freelancers, but also to provide services, how to modulate contracts, how to connect to other freelancers, to form collectives, and to be more representative on the market. We also choose to create a freelance academy, which would be self-sustainable, but again use the logic of peer-to-peer base, so that our members could provide knowledge to other members. Because if you have a designer and you have a lawyer and you have a, translator, then perhaps they can share their knowledges through peer-to-peer workshops, and they can be more professional on the market. And the third thing, or last thing, was on local level. We decided to do a campaign to gather signatures from our members to start a co-working space that would be focused on freelancers, which means that we would put all our programs together to form this one-stop shop where every freelancer could come and get the help he needs or get job opportunities and things like that. And then we made them in strategic goals and made it in a nice taglines and things like that. And again, then we use it to share it with media, because in reality this is really important, because at the same time you attract politicians to see, like wider range of people, general public, but also new members, and again, policymakers. So we use the statistics to get us on a, let's say, front page of really important magazines, business magazines. So we had a really amazing media coverage. And also we were on television, different types of networks and things like that. But again, we wanted to put it on a local level. So we also collaborated with different cities and tried to empower their local freelancers to understand that they are part of this wider movement. We changed different stories, so this one is related, for instance, to co-working space. And in the 8 months period, what we achieved is like 13 core team members with over 5,000 hours of voluntary work, which is really important because in reality, if not enough people is passionate about something, then nothing will happen. So if we don't take things in our hands, we can't expect that somebody else will fight for us. That's the reality. So, okay, we supported the European Freelancers campaign and we managed to get 1,400 signatures from Croatia. We recruited 2,150 members. We did the first freelance research, we built strong media relation, and we managed to pre-develop or to survey our members what they think how the Freelance Academy should look. Because this part is really important because usually nobody cares about things like soft skills, like how to negotiate deals, how to do time management, and things which we don't usually learn in our educational system. So I think this is really a big problem for freelancers because nobody pushed them to learn about how to be more professional or how to negotiate deals. Because in the end, that is what makes you a freelancer who has money or who doesn't. And this is the biggest problem. Again, we collected 650 statements of needs, which we plan to use to negotiate with the local municipality, because Zagreb has a lot of empty spaces and nobody does anything with them. So for us, it's really insane that we have to do all these different types of actions and programming just to get the opportunity to get not free space, but space that is not rented in commercial way, because that's like 12 euros per square meter, and this city square is €1 per square meter. So for our members, that would mean really a lot, because in reality, that way they can afford to be a part of this growing community that nurtures certain values and also supports them to be better professionals. We had the first gathering in Zagreb, and also what we do, we use events to connect to different types of communities. So we were main program partner of Zagreb Design Week. As I said, most of our members are related to creative industries, so we wanted to use the opportunity to do Academy Demo Day, Consulting Demo Day, Gilda Lecture and Workshop, but also start new programs that are related to creative industry. So we put a little conference, and also social innovation partnerships that kept us in line what we did as Co-working Croatia. Another important thing for us is that we are part of European Forum of Independent Professionals, which is a wider European network of national organizations. So we asked them to come to Zagreb and to present what IFIP is about, and we had a really nice discussion, how can we influence politicians and how can freelancers take control in their hands and do something about it. So what's the reality check about this? There is more than 200,000 independent workers and self-employed professionals operating in Croatia. So if you compare it to 2,000 of our members, you can see that there is a really big gap. And the problem is that usually our freelancers not usually understand that they are freelancers, because this is something really new. So we are trying to empower them and explain, okay, you have to not join us, but try to be a part of this wider movement. So we just scratched the surface, if you think about it. I said this already. So IFIP is looking for new national organizations every day from all over the Europe, because IFIP has the power to do really good research and also to think about different policies and how to approach it. So I'm really hoping that this conference in a way will encourage some entity or some person to take control and to start this organization, or perhaps there is already organization that can try to, let's say, take a turn and to see how to participate. And yes, we should have in mind that independent yet united, we stand 9 million strong in Europe, so that's a really big number, and we should really be, not say proud of it, but we should really try to do something to make our future better. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mattia. Just want to clarify one thing. When you talk about independent professionals, who are you having in mind?
We define independent professional as every person who directly delivers the service or work to a client in a professional and I'm missing the English words way. In a temporarily way, so it's not like long-term, but short-term. And it can be also a company when you talk about self-employed people. So usually freelancers have craft, I don't know how you call the entity, but they have different types of companies, or so usually the problem is that they don't even know if they are only they own the company, but they don't have their employees, so they don't know that they are independent professionals. Because freelancers is more a term related to United States, and independent professional is something that's kind of trying to be a new term in Europe, let's say.
And you did quite a thorough research. How long it took you?
Well, we prepared for this whole activation for a year. So it was 8 months when we started, but we prepared for 1 year. And when we had the critical mass of our members, then they were really active and passionate about it, because that was something that we did like first activity. So many of our members participated, you know. So that's why we have really good numbers.
And did you collaborate it with the academia or just your members?
No. Because if we did that, in reality, it would took us like 1 year more, I would say. You know, so we are kind of rely on our own resources. So it's like a community thing, you know. My mother is a psychologist, and she does media psychology. So we said, okay, let's put, like, we collected all these things that's important for us, and then we did it together in a way, you know. So if you have researchers, if you have psychologists, and you have the tools which you can use online, then it's quite easy. I mean, we did talk to a couple of people from, let's say, academy circles.
And they said it's complicated.
Yeah, but they were open about it. They wanted to help, but, you know, it would take us too long just to have some important name on the research, let's say. And I think we did it really good, so.
And you managed to get 2,000 plus members. It seems to me a very big number. How did you get them to join you? What, you offered free iPhones or?
No, it's free. So the membership is free.
It's free, they don't have to pay. But
yeah.
how do you survive?
We are volunteers. That's
all volunteers,
yeah.
The whole organization and everything.
Yeah, because we, for instance, as a co-working Croatia, we do some consultings and have events. So we can, with partners, we can earn some money, but it's really a small thing. The idea that we want the membership to be free for everybody, because it's important for people to be empowered and be part of something. And at the same time, with some programs that we made, we will offer our members to pay a membership, so they will have the access to different professional types of services. Mm-hmm. So the model is not like everybody has to pay, but everybody doesn't have to pay. They can choose what type of service do they need, and we will provide it and make it less expensive, because there is a lot of us. So that's the logic.
With what you do, does the government help you, the Croatian government? Do you get any help from the ministries?
We'll just start the, let's say, not the negotiations, but we just started to talk with them. So we will see what will happen in, let's say, 8 months.
Okay, thanks for now. And our last speaker, Marko Funkel, founder of Movement for Decent Work and Welfare Society.
Thank you. First, I would like to say hello to all of you, and thanks that you came. And especially hello to all the activists and the future fighters for decent work. As we said, we are from Movement for Decent Work and Welfare Society. I'm an activist and also self-employed. And we are all working in organization as volunteers. So it's also quite hard these days. So Gibanje is organized as NGO form of trade union for precarious workers and all active people who cares about the future. I would like to say if here is 100 people, I don't know, somewhere about 100. Let's just say that you are young and you are on Slovenian labor market. Situation is that 20 of you are unemployed, 16 having regular jobs, and 64 people knows what flexibility really means. So most of that, 64 people are precarious workers. I would like to say that we started 2010, so 4 years and a half, with a campaign against so-called Slovenian kind of mini jobs, as we heard about it before. We started with campaign against that law, and the result was a referendum with big support, and of course the main work did student organizations and trade unions, but our organization started in 2010, and the result was we won. So 80% was against the law and 20% for the law. So after that, the government resigned. And that was also a consequence of 2 other referendums. I would like to say that we are still working on the field of precarious work. And we think it's not normal that someone works for 16 hours per day and doesn't have basic workers' rights. We think it's not normal that we are selling and branding ourselves. And no, it won't last just a few years when we're developing our ideas. It will last 2, 5, 10, or 20 years. Flexibility. We think that flexibility is a cancer of our labor market. It is very planned, very well organized, and having very clear goals to have unorganized, underpaid, flexible, and individualized workers. Goals of our organizations are here. So we want to achieve decent work, connecting, organizing, and representing precarious workers. More social and legal rights for precariat, encourage individuals to connecting and working together in cooperatives or other forms where workers are equal and respected. And also, I would like to say, that's from our campaign. Some pictures from activities, but it doesn't matter. Results of so-called result of situation in Slovenia, that we have 115,000 unemployed people. It's declared unemployment. Around 250,000 people are in atypical forms of employment. And also, we already heard about it, that precarious is social class formed by people suffering from precarity, which is a condition of existence without predictability or security. It means no social security, less legal awareness, social dumping, health issues, lack of professional identity, low predictability, and of course the problems are family planning, independence, buying apartment, and so on. For example, self-employment in Slovenia, we have rising trend of growing self-employment. There is already 30% of all workers self-employed. In Denmark, there is 8%, in Greece, 32%. So we are not moving on the right direction when we are growing the self-employment. The problem is that often it is not even legal when employer demands from worker to open SP. I can say in Slovenian legislation it is written that workers who works for one employer and in his place with his equipment full-time could not be self-employed because it's illegal. And we have practice in Slovenian national TV where they recognize that they have 500 people who works in that media, and they are economically dependent workers. So we have in governmental or let's say public TV workers who are illegal workers in Slovenian legislation. So the next thing I want to say, the problems with precarious workers in Slovenia, not just Slovenia, Greece, Spain, Italy, Croatia, and other countries have big influence on whole labor market in European Union. And we need to connect at the beginning individuals and then movements like ours, and then connect similar and then fight against flexibility and for decent work. There is also some other forms of precarious work. Employment, like employment agencies, student work. I won't read everything because I think it's... And for the end, I would like to say that I'm optimist. Why? Because I think here in Slovenia we started some processes of connecting different organizations and individuals, media and experts. And hopefully that will help us to make radical changes on Slovenian labor market. Just a thought for the end, because united we stand, divided we fall, and join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Marko. Did I understand it correctly that you said, when talking about people working in the media, like economically independent workers? Because it's so true. I had, funny that you mentioned, because I had an interview with a very famous journalist, Slovenian today. He's a living legend and really worked like 40 years all over the world. And we talked about the situation before, like 30 years ago. And he said there was absolutely no problem to get a job as a journalist, like zero. Today, of course, that's plenty of work, but no one would pay. Because really funny prices for people that work in the media. So it's very good that you work in this field. Do you have any ambition of becoming a union?
Yes.
Because was it you, Bianca, that you mentioned there is a lack of unions taking care of workers in precariat? Or
it's hard to organize the union from precarious workers because they don't have payment like regular workers, so they cannot pay to union to exist. This is the circle. And we have a problem because precarious work is also social dumping of all the other workers. So that's a problem because trade unions must rethink about their roles and to find some money to support movements or organizations like ours, that we will fight together for more decent work and for more regular jobs.
Yeah, that's dumping that you mentioned, that is a problem, but how to overcome this?
There are some ideas, and we also...
share it with us.
I would also like to say thanks to Tadej. Here is General from the cabinet of Prime Minister, Tadej Slapnik. He also helped us to make a group governmental group for precarious workers. So we have like connected now, and we try to figure out what to do, because the case in TV Slovenia is one of the cases when inspection should have more rights to stop that kind of situation. And there are a lot of ideas what to do, but we need to have on the other side also someone who will listen us.
Marco, you also write a blog. I mean, the latest one goes back to, I think, October 2014, but still, I like the title that you choose, that the change starts with us. Okay, it's not something like new, but it's so true. It's a lot of times the answers are within us.
I think that for precarious workers, it's important that we are using word we, not I, because we are in every corner there is self-employed people, precarious people, and they should connect, because if they are not connected, it's just, I don't know, they cannot fight for their rights. I think the flexibility is the way how to unorganize workers. So if you want to connect, we are in a really bad situation.
Just need a lot of people to be passionate about, that you mentioned, right, Mattia? Okay, maybe we should go to questions from the audience. Does anyone have a question for our panelists? Something to ask about, I don't know, the Brussels corridors, the academia. You are working, Bianca, in Leeds University, right? What are you specializing there at?
I'm working on...
Can you please pass the mic?
Well, I think what I was talking about today is what I actually try to do in my work as well. Really trying to frame design as work and not as some kind of creative passion that you do because you have some craziness in you.
Okay, so anyone wants to have a question? Or maybe I should just ask you, the working title for the panel was what about the future of workers in Europe? You each have laid down some solutions or where some problems lie. 2 or 3 of you mentioned that really there is a challenge as to how to ask for money. And probably this goes, the educational system needs to change. Do you see any measures going towards in Brussels?
Yes, actually it's something that is being discussed now and in very passionate terms. Because, I discussed this yesterday also, in which way the educational systems can be reformed in order to teach what is called entrepreneurship. So basically, teach how to ask for money. Because we are not taught on how to create our own business. We are taught since kindergarten, then primary school, and so on and so forth, that you're going to study and you're going to get a job in the state. If you're lucky, in Southern Europe, that's the mentality. First of all, the state, or if you're not lucky to work for the state, you're going to find a job in a big company. But nobody is stuck, and this means that you're stuck in a big bureaucracy. You're going to be a bureaucrat, and you don't have to take responsibility over things as asking for money unless you're a salesman or an accounting person, etc. So if we don't introduce these skills in the early age, if we don't teach people how to manage a budget, what is a charter of accounting with all the different accounts that exists, what is income, expense, active, passive, I don't know, all this fixed assets, I don't know, all these concepts that are crucial to create a company and to manage your own business, even as an individual, then of course you're not going to have entrepreneurs. And you're going to be stuck in a situation where, yes, you are creative, yes, you have great ideas, but you're not an entrepreneur and you're not going to be a successful economic actor, so to speak. Yeah, that's
Anyone wants
But
to add?
I would like, sorry.
Question. Okay, great.
Just answering directly to the question of the political debate in Brussels, I have to say that I was shocked recently in the General Assembly of the European Youth Forum, where I and some others were pushing towards introducing some of these topics in education, and the students' unions were actually blocking it. I thought, well, is it because you never worked and so you don't know what it means to be on the job market and not being able to unleash your full potential just because you have a prejudice against knowing how an economy works?
That's so neoliberal.
Sorry?
That's so neoliberal.
Yes, if you understand how the economy works, you're a neoliberal. And that's a problem. If we don't change this, we're going to continue having frustrated people that cannot give full body to their potential.
I totally agree. We have a question.
Okay. In terms of these new concepts that are arising and in terms of engaging people with the contexts and so on, how do you look at gamification? Is it like, how do the people react, like the younger generations? Do you have any inputs, feedback here, maybe? That's the thing. Like, in terms of money, understanding economy also takes an understanding of money, like, and disintegrating every piece of this thing, like in a game, could be useful to either ideology, neoliberal or whatever you want to name it, in the new concept zone. Like, there's this egg going around which is swallowing concepts as we speak and throwing them into a black hole, a supermassive black hole. How do you respond to this?
Did you have a question for anyone specifically?
That's a hard question. Gamification. So I tried to understand what the gamification was through an online course, because I'm also some kind of geek, and I couldn't. But what I do know is that to be an entrepreneur, or to create your own job, or to be a freelancer, whatever you want to call it, you do have to deal with a variety of factors, and if you don't know how to conjugate all of them, you are not going to succeed. And the factors, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, you are the entrepreneurs, not me, I'm just a bureaucrat, but I can see you need capital, you need creativity, you need discipline or organizational skills or accounting skills, or call it whatever you want, and you need technical skills. And this, when you have several factors and a multitude of people, you have complexity. So if anyone is aware of what complexity theories are, you can have complexity which you can manage, or you can have complication that you cannot manage. So what you are, if I understand your question correctly, what you're saying is in which way we can teach people on how to deal with this complex context? Because if that's the case, that's 2 steps ahead from what we are trying to convince politicians on how to reform our educational systems. First of all, we have to explain to them that we need to teach people on entrepreneurial skills and on things that for now are high-end stuff like coding or programming, but that actually in 10 years or 20 years, it should be a basic skill like nowadays using Microsoft Word and Excel.
Go for it.
I just want to have inject some kind of maybe criticism or critical thought on everyone becoming an entrepreneur, because I think that's what is happening in the UK. In a way, like every university is having career services, and it's quite problematic because they spur competition so much, and they really get people into thinking, I become my own boss and I will be fighting against everyone else, no matter what. So I think it's kind of problematic, and also thinking, does every sociologist, every philosopher need to become an entrepreneur, or do we simply scrap these? Or I think, if we I think it's important to know how the economy works, but then also, do we talk about cooperatives? Do we talk about other kinds of models as well? Because at the moment in the UK educational system, that part is completely missing, and I think it should be there so people have more options to think of, how do I want to relate to the people that I work with? Do I want to be their boss? Do I want to run a company together as co-workers without hierarchies? So I think there is quite a lot happening there as well, and it's just important to keep it as a point of orientation, to not just have everyone become entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, or, you know.
Well, one basic thing is that no, we cannot be all entrepreneurs because we don't all have the creativity. And we cannot all be bosses because, well, someone has to be the employee. So of course, entrepreneurship is just one of the many things that we need to introduce. But to be an entrepreneur or to work in a cooperative, you're not going to make your cooperative succeed if the people don't know how what a balance sheet is. If people don't know that if they earn 1,000 euros and they spend 1,050 euros, they're going to go bankrupt after a few years. So this, regardless, the thing is that, like I said before, that many of the solutions are transversal across ages. Many of the solutions to bring about more entrepreneurship are the same solutions that individual entrepreneurship, but there is social entrepreneurship. That's also part of entrepreneurship. Actually, yesterday there was a gentleman from the European Commission specifically talking about the social entrepreneurship, and another speaker also from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation speaking about social entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship not only means individual, but also social, and that means cooperatives, for example, or mutualities and other types of business associations. But the solutions to bring about entrepreneurship are the same that can also bring about less unemployment, like, for example, vocational education and training. All of this have the same solutions and go back to a proper educational system.
Okay, thank you both. Now we are talking. Okay, Mattia.
I just wanted to add, we also have this really big problem, how to tell the difference between a freelancer and the entrepreneur, because a lot of people want to fit us into that category, and we really try to make it different, because there is different. What's the difference? We can have these skills, but we will never have the urge to control other people. I think that's the difference, because we don't want to make a living out of other people, we just want to make living with the best, with our talents. So basically how we see it, freelancing is about being best in what you do. That can be a design or architecture. You don't have to be the best entrepreneur, but you have to have certain skills to sell your service in the end. But there are also a way, I mean, there can be a party that can help you do that. And this is something that we are trying to think about.
Okay, thanks. Sebastian is next, and then we have one question there. Oh, okay, Sebastian, the authority.
Yes, I also wanted to say this, making everybody an entrepreneur is selling that as this American dream that is already overlived. It has reached its end by like limits in the environment and the raw materials that can be extracted and sold and so on. So we must now. I thought we will be discussing the ideas how to go further, not just in the ways of how to improve our skills on the labor market, in the ways becoming better entrepreneurs and competing one to another with lowering our expectations regarding our wages and so on, and social skills. I was thinking, I thought we will be discussing the ideas how to improve our lives to progress from this point we are stuck at the moment. So I would really like to hear the ideas that would be a bit different, not just educating people regarding the how the how we should become more better in the accountant's business and making and doing all ourselves. What else can we do ourselves? Like, is there anything that something can be done in the system that would improve our being in this way? So regarding teaching people how to be accountants, no, let the country provide this for us. So we just do, and the country does the accounting for us. That would be a progress to me, I guess. So are there any ideas that would reflect, that would see like a near future what can be done, not just fantasizing about how we'll all end up being cool entrepreneurs with the big yachts?
I don't think they were talking about this. You overstretched this one, but yeah, it's a very good, it's a very good point. Also, but maybe Sebastian, please. Sebastian has something to say.
No, I've been there and seen that. Actually, I'm a philosopher and a political scientist, but by education, and I run a social enterprise with 6 employees, and I run it. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I got actually additionally, I learned into all the skills you were talking about. So I know how to account, how to account for the wages. I even know how to come through the month. You know that there is enough money for the next month. And now for the paradox of it. Actually, in order for these 6 employees, which are all from the, let's say, from the disadvantaged working groups, I and my friends, which run the company, in last 5 years, we probably put, 4 years, we probably put around each 3,000 to 4,000 hours for free into this company. So for the paradox, I'm the owner, I'm the entrepreneur, and I work for free so that 6 people can have a job. Now this is a paradox. It's postmodern paradox, isn't it? Or is it not? No. Can't say. But for the answers, actually, I was thinking on how in one side, actually, entrepreneurial spirit is quite interesting. I like it. But anyhow, in this sense, what I would like to, let's say, to the government or to the state to offer, it's additional support on those parts of, let's say, our lives where we don't really have enough work to be able to support ourselves, to be able maybe to support families and so on. So the life line actually at some point gets disturbed. And this is what actually some theoreticians and actually even some practitioners already tried to introduce. On one side, it's a basic income, but maybe that's a bit too much for these days, even though that money is artificially created for last 30 years, and banks never did anything, let's say, to produce any real value, but they just print money or just artificially create it when they give out loans. So actually, this is one possibility, is basic income. But maybe just to start with, it's something which is called sabbatical year, which was introduced by Klaus Offe, one of the, let's say, theoreticians of critical theory of 4th generation, I said, but it doesn't really matter. But anyhow, he introduced this so-called sabbatical year, where each person has 10 years in their lives, 10 years, yes. 10 years of, let's say, of possible support by the country. If they don't work at that time, they will just apply for the let's say support, which will enable them to live through those rough years, or maybe for those years when they want to study, when they want to, let's say, upgrade their skills, or they just want to change their life situations. So in this sense, actually, I would go when searching for solutions, maybe on one side to the community structures as co-working cooperatives and so on, but on the other side, I would go toward the reinventing the money. Money is actually nothing anymore. It's just an imaginary structure which actually, and when people, whoever talks about free lunch, actually the only free lunch which is given out is to financial industry for last 30 years. Because they are making incredible profits out of something which doesn't even exist. And this happened after the 67, after the Bretton Woods agreement, where gold standard was not necessary anymore, and it only went down. And this is now the reality. We have no financial background in this sense, but I do still like entrepreneurship. And I'm in a paradox situation now. And this is my, let's say, understanding.
Okay, thank you, Sebastian. I love the idea of a sabbatical after every 10 years. But the guy that asked the question before, maybe for all of you, what do you see possible solutions, or where should we go to find better ways?
I just want to say that I think that it's really bad to see entrepreneurship as evil. We should really think about how to be a part of this value system that is good for us and good for others. Because it's like, let's say, social entrepreneurship, so I think that's important. How to teach people to be good persons, good people. I mean, it sounds so simple, but in the end, that's the reality. Entrepreneur can pay a freelancer really good, or don't pay him at all. So it really depends who is the person. It's like the organization, it's the same way. If you think about it, the freelancers organization can be a really good thing, or it can be a really bad thing. It depends in which way something is going. So for me, I think the value system is crucial in everything. And I would also like to add the thing about the local currencies or community currencies. I think that's really interesting for freelance communities, because with that way, you can really, if you think about how much money we spend on everything, and there is, for instance, let's say 5,000 of us, we can spend that money just for something that's inside the organization or that community. And I think that's a really good way to approach it, because it's like circular.
Okay, maybe closing remarks, like your ideas for a better tomorrow, and then we can continue our talk over snack and what kind of syrup? You have a question? Okay.
Yeah, I think we should think about taking a loan, not just to saving our banks, but to saving our social system. That's one of the problems, because we all the time we are hearing what's everything is wrong in our financial system, how are we depend on European institutions. So we need to find the solutions for the people, not for the institutions. And I think it's also a bad situation that you are self-employed and you are afraid of I don't know, to have a disease or to something like this, because you don't have money to pay your payments. So.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Igor?
Well, regarding solutions for a better future, and for example, touching upon issues like environment, if I have to think about all the trash that people produced 30 years ago to listen to music, wake up in the morning, watch news on TV, etc., 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 they had, I don't know how many different electronic devices. Nowadays, I have one phone, and it will continue to be improved because phones are getting slimmer, they're using less materials, they're using less raw materials, and so the improvement is there already, and it's being produced not by centralized political actors, but by companies and sometimes by individuals, freelancers or entrepreneurs, people that create apps that make our life so much easier. Apps that allow us to better manage our time, our money, that allow us to spare resources, energy in doing our normal activities. And yeah.
No, just the future of workers.
Well, the future of workers, I think we, as I said before, we have to move away from thinking that everything should be as it was with our grandfathers. That's not going to happen. So the best way is to search for solutions that are decent, that deliver a decent life for people. When for example, it was mentioned that trade unions are not answering to the issues of precarious workers. Of course they're not. It's not their interest. Their interest is to protect the workers of people, the privileges of people that are already in work. They don't care about young people. They will not care about young people. They will die with the last worker protected under overprivileged system. And so we will have to find, in our context, the best solutions. But that is not sticking to old paradigms.
I was just thinking, what about our grandmothers? But that's maybe a whole other conversation of what work was for women and is today. But I would just say tomorrow we are running a workshop here. So that would be a first step to just come together and have a discussion in a space together and see what can be done in a very practical way right away. And so I would invite you to come along. I think there are still like about 5 places free, so if you have time, speak to me or send an email to Eva if you want to come along.
Oops. When do you start tomorrow?
It's running from 10 to 5, so it's quite intense, but please come along if you have time.
Okay, thank you, and thank you all for being here and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you for being here with us as well, and the final word goes to yeah, very short. Felicita, please.
I would like to thank to all our speakers, to the panelists, to the moderators, for what I believe was a very interesting debate. It opened up a forum, and this is our mission for new ideas. And if I may come back to Ralph Dahrendorf, and Professor Paquet might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the advice he gave to young people was the world is complex and complicated. There is no easy one solution for it. So we have to learn to live with it. And I think that this day, with so many different views, ideas, open up this debate. And I wish you also personally that you pursue your happiness and be successful in whatever you would like to do with your lives. Thank you.